and a very good morning. You're watching the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha television. I'm your host Frank Pereira. Here are the latest headlines. 18th SAARC summit gets underway in Kathmandu today. Little hope of a Modi-Sharif meeting. Prime Minister Modi gives Nepal a 200-bed trauma centre and flags off Delhi-Kathmandu bus service. Braving the cold, boycott calls and Maoist threats, voters queue up for the first phase of polls in Jammu and Kashmir and Jharkhand. Record turnouts reported from both states. On the 6th anniversary of the 26/11 terror attacks in Mumbai, memorial programs to be held for the martyrs. Government assures strong checks in place on the coastline. And looting and arson in the US city of Ferguson after grand jury decides not to indict police officer Darren Wilson over the fatal shooting of Michael Brown. More troops called in. Our top focus on the bulletin this morning. The 18th summit of the South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation, or SAARC, gets underway in Nepal today. Prime Minister Modi, who arrived in Kathmandu yesterday, dedicated a trauma care centre, donated a Dhruv helicopter for the Nepal Army and inaugurated the Delhi-Kathmandu bus service. Here's more.
The diplomatic Superman arriving at the Tribhuvan International Airport. After charming Nepal back in August in his first visit, Narendra Modi is now back in Kathmandu. And this time he's brought with him a bag full of goodies. A trauma care centre built by India, a Dhruv helicopter to the Nepal Army, and even a dedicated bus service between both the capitals. After years of neglect in the latter half of the UPA regime, the Indian diplomatic establishment is on a course correction overdrive.
भारत खुले दिल से यहाँ के लोगों की जिंदगी बचाने के लिए सदा सर्वदा आपके साथ खड़ा है और वो हमारे लिए सौभाग्य होगा एक प्रकार से अपनों की सेवा करने का ये अवसर है.
But it's not all hunky-dory. Just ahead of the visit, at the very last minute, the Prime Minister cancelled his proposed trips to Janakpur and Lumbini. This in response to reports of reservations among some ruling coalition members in Nepal. But that did not stop the Prime Minister from chiding his northern neighbour to speed up drafting a constitution, something that worries India. The 18th SAARC Heads of State Summit begins in Kathmandu Wednesday. There is intense speculation about a possible meeting between the Prime Ministers of India and Pakistan. But until that happens, if at all it does, both sides prefer to be extremely tight-lipped.
In last 3 decades, this is the third time that Nepal is hosting the SAARC summit. While the focus seems to be once again on India and Pakistan, the real challenge is, in this increasingly globalized world, can SAARC develop itself into a free zone? Free communication, free trade, and a space which allows people to move freely. In Kathmandu, Arfa Khanum Sherwani for Rajya Sabha television.
Well, my colleague Arfa Khanum joins us for more on the phone line from Kathmandu right now. Arfa, this is the 18th SAARC summit. You know, a lot is expected as far as this summit is concerned. But what is really the main agenda for today?
Yes, exactly. So the inaugural session of the 18th SAARC summit is going to begin from 9:30 a.m. Local time at Rajya Sabha. It is situated in the heart of Kathmandu. And then, there's a couple of speeches after that. From 2:30 p.m. onwards, there are individual meetings with 7 heads of states where media has access to. We can go there and see and listen to them. And then there is dinner hosted by Prime Minister Sushil Koirala. So this is how the schedule goes for today. But then exactly, you said it rightly, that now there are serious questions being raised after 3 decades of the formation of SAARC, that what exactly SAARC stands for, what exactly it can do for the South Asian countries, the politicians, the people. But then I would say that since Prime Minister Modi has taken the charge, his foreign policy seems to have a greater space for South Asia. He's come to Nepal now twice in 4 months. And then we saw that how for 17 long years, there was no prime minister who could go from India to Nepal. So now there is a new regional imagination taking place. There are greater expectations, though I would say the enthusiasm among the journalists has gone down a bit since they've learned that there will be no formal meeting between Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif.
Yes, indeed. Of course, all eyes were on Prime Minister Modi as well as Prime Minister Sharif to see if there could be any kind of a bilateral talk between the two countries. Now, that has been put on the back burner. That's not likely to happen. But let's not forget, it's 6 years to the day since the dastardly attacks in Mumbai took place. The Mumbai terror attacks, of course, carried out by 10 Pakistani terrorists. There are several reports in the media that suggest that Prime Minister Modi could bring up the issue of 2611 in the presence of Pak Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif. So is that likely to happen?
The point is that despite the fact that the SARC Charter actually excludes any bilateral contentious issues being raised during the SARC summit, we can't really deny that there will be no such talks. There is a strong possibility that could happen, but then again, the Prime Minister has all the right to do that. But at the same time, if you look at it from the SARC country's point of view, there is again this danger of SARC being taken hostage by Indo-Pak relations. So, I would say that the Prime Minister is likely to make a statement, likely to raise the issue of terrorism and security in the region, which actually affects not just India and Pakistan, but also Bangladesh, but also Nepal, and some part of Sri Lanka as well. So we can say that the entire region has the security as one of the biggest concerns for the region.
Indeed.
So I would say that while the Prime Minister raises 2611, it coincides with SARC summit, but then at the same time, we would really expect that it should not take hostage, that the SARC summit doesn't become hostage to Indo-Pak relations once again.
Indeed.
And we can really see that there will be some focus on connectivity, regional integration, trade, security, scientific research as the agenda goes for the SARC summit this time around. And
Right.
there is increased focus on regional integration. Even the media has also been insisting on that how can you be away from each other in this highly globalized world. And there's increased focus on connectivity, that how connectivity can actually pave a way for better trade and better security, even relations among these countries.
All right, we'll have to leave it at that. Thank you so much, Arfa, for joining us there with all those details and bringing us up to date with what's likely to happen during the course of the day. Moving on now, of course, targeted by the opposition parties over black money parked in foreign accounts, the government has said that it is ready for a debate on the issue in Parliament today. A short duration discussion has been scheduled in both houses. Here's a report on the developments on the issue on Tuesday.
As soon as question hour began in Lok Sabha, the opposition parties demanded a discussion on their adjournment motion. They asked the Speaker to adjourn the question hour and allow a discussion. When the request was denied, opposition MPs came into the well of the House shouting slogans. The government said it was ready to discuss the issue.
Government is ready to discuss it under whatever rule you allow it. The government is ready. There is nothing to hide. We have taken a lot of initiatives and we will be happy to take the House into confidence about the steps that have been taken by this government.
But the opposition seemed dissatisfied with the government's statement. Due to the opposition, the House had to be adjourned for some time before lunch. Post-lunch too, the issue was raised.
They defamed the UPA 2 government on this issue only, and they went door to door, city to city, town to town, village to village, they propagated. Therefore, they should apologize for this. Absolutely. That's why we want this.
The Trinamool Congress had also given an adjournment motion on the issue. The Congress and several other opposition parties finally staged a walkout. Shyam Sundar's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, joining me on the phone line right now is our correspondent Vishal Dahiya, who joins us for more on what's likely to happen in Parliament today. Well, Vishal, we saw that, the opposition is putting up a united front, at least for the time being, and the black money issue being raised in both houses of Parliament yesterday. We saw that the Rajya Sabha saw very little work in the pre-noon session, and even in the Lok Sabha, the issue was raised. The government there finally deciding to allow a discussion as far as black money issue is concerned?
Well, yes, the government's agenda, seems to be that they want to go ahead and deal with all the issues which are being raised by the opposition party at the beginning of the session itself. And this was made clear by almost all opposition parties before the session began that they will raise the issue of black money, and that's exactly what happened on the first working day of the winter session in both houses. What we're expecting today is a discussion in both Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. While in Rajya Sabha the discussion will be a short duration one, in Lok Sabha it will be a discussion under Rule 193. And given the kind of allegations and counter allegations between the government and the opposition benches, both the discussions are likely to be really charged up. Are likely to be held in really charged up atmosphere. We're likely to witness the round of another round of allegations and counter allegations between both opposition and treasury benches in both the houses today. But really, if you look at in the political angle of this entire situation, the government seems to be trying to go ahead and take an upper hand in this entire situation by agreeing to the discussion on the very first day itself and conducting it today, hoping that the opposition will now, after the discussion is being held on the issue of black money today, will now let the government carry on with its business on the floor of both houses for the rest of the session.
Right. All right, Vishal Dahiya, we'll have to leave it at that. Thank you so much for joining us there with all those details and bringing us up to date with what's likely to happen in Parliament today. Moving on now, Jammu and Kashmir and Jharkhand saw record turnouts in the first phase of assembly polls for 28 seats. Braving the cold, poll boycott calls and Maoist threats, voters turned up in huge numbers yesterday in both the states.
Amid tight security arrangements, Jammu and Kashmir and Jharkhand voted in the first of the 5-phased assembly polls. 15 seats in Jammu and Kashmir and 13 in Jharkhand were at stake on Tuesday. Over 300 candidates, including several heavyweights, were in fray. Voters were seen queuing up outside polling booths in large numbers in both states. In Jammu and Kashmir, voters defied severe cold and poll boycott calls by separatists. In Jharkhand, Maoist threats to disrupt poll process saw no effect on the ground.
बहुत खुशी से हम वोट डालने के लिए घरों से निकल आए हैं। हमें तो सैलाब ने बहुत परेशानी की है। हम इस वोटिंग की सूरत नहीं है, मगर हालात ने मजबूर किया कि तुम वो वोट डालो। हम तैयार है वोट डालने के लिए।
हम लोग को डेवलपमेंट है, चारों तरफ से डेवलपमेंट हो, एजुकेशन का हो, सभी चीज़ का जो हम लोग को डेली का यूज़ का चाहिए, उसका डेवलपमेंट होना चाहिए। अगर आप बाकी सभी स्टेट से कंपेयर करें तो रियली हम लोग बहुत पीछे हैं।
High enthusiasm among voters resulted in a handsome turnout in both states. While Jammu and Kashmir recorded more than 70% polling, Jharkhand recorded well over 60%. The final figures are expected to rise.
I gave this figure of 70% overall so far, which is likely to go up. This compares with 64.97 in 2008 Vidhan Sabha. Like this is the average. 64.97. So compared to that, you can say that we have recorded 70 so far, which is 5 percentage points combinedly for the entire phase, and it was 52.63 in Lok Sabha combinedly.
The turnout has been quite encouraging in this phase. Last assembly election in this phase for these ACs, the poll percentage was 58%. Till now, we have received the turnout of 61.92.
10 sitting MLAs were among 199 candidates in the fray in Jharkhand. The state's Rural Development Minister Krishnanand Tripathi is the lone minister in the Hemant Soren cabinet in the fray from Daltonganj in this phase. Congress and RJD states presidents were also among those who contested on Tuesday. As many as 7 ministers from the Omar Abdullah cabinet were in the fray in the first phase in Jammu and Kashmir. 5 more sitting MLAs are also among 123 candidates in the fray in this phase. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, we'll slip into a short break now, but still to come, dozens killed in a suicide bomb attack by teenage girls in Nigeria. Boko Haram hand suspected to be behind the blast. That and much more. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha television. Well, it's 6 years today since 10 Pakistani terrorists unleashed mayhem in Mumbai with a series of shooting and bombing attacks that killed 164 people. Memorial functions for the dead are to be held around Mumbai today. The Indian Navy, along with the Coast Guard and Indian Air Force, is conducting the annual Defence of Gujarat exercise for 5 days. 12 coordinated attacks lasting 4 days across Mumbai carried out by the Lashkar-e-Toiba killed 164. Ajmal Kasab, the only attacker who was captured alive, later confessed upon interrogation that the attacks were conducted with the support of Pakistan government's intelligence agency ISI. 8 of the attacks occurred in South Mumbai, with the Chhatrapati Shivaji terminus, the Oberoi Trident, the Taj Mahal Palace and Tar and other key places being targeted. Mumbai's ATS chief Hemant Karkare, Vijay Salaskar, Ashok Kamte and Tukaram Omble were among the police officers who were killed.
लेओपोल्ड काफी बार के बाजू में मेरा दुकान है। जैसा वो फायरिंग चालू हो गया वैसा मैं भागने की कोशिश किया तो भागते भागते यहाँ गिर गया तो 2-3 लोगों को गोली लगी। तो हमारा बाजू वाला दोस्त लोग भी तो उनको भी गोली लगी, वो नीचे गिर गया, खून खराबा ज्यादा हो गया था। जैसे कभी कभी ऐसा बैठता हूँ अभी तो उसका याद आता है तो शरीर के लिए झटका लग जाता है।
ये दिन जो आता है ना 26/11 का तो हमारे आँख के सामने ही आ जाता है पूरा वो अंधेरा, जो अंधेरा कर दिया था पूरा माहौल, और जो फायरिंग की आवाज पूरे कान में और आँख के सामने ही है।
Well, let's take a look now at some news-making events lined up for the day today in our segment, The Day Ahead. The PDP is to release its Assembly Election Manifesto for Jammu and Kashmir today. This comes after the Election Commission had restrained the party from releasing its manifesto on Monday, as campaigning had come to an end for the first phase the previous day. Jammu and Kashmir went to polls in the first phase yesterday. The second phase comes up on the 2nd of December. BJP Chief Amit Shah is to address 4 rallies in poll-bound Jharkhand today. BJP rallies are scheduled in Simdega at 10:30 a.m., Mohanpur at 12:45 p.m. and Chakradharpur at 1:40 p.m. as well as Karsavan at 2:40 p.m. All the 4 constituencies in Jharkhand go to polls in the second phase on the 2nd of December. Today is the last date for filing nominations for the 4th phase of polls in Jharkhand and Jammu and Kashmir. Polling will be held in 15 constituencies in Jharkhand and 18 constituencies in Jammu and Kashmir in the 4th phase on December 14. Nominations can also be filed from today for the 5th phase of polling in the 2 states, for which polling is to be held on the 20th of December. A notification to this effect is to be issued today. The last date for withdrawal of nominations in this phase is December 6th. The 4th India-Arab Partnership Conference focusing on new horizons in investment, trade and services gets underway in New Delhi today. The conference is expected to be attended by the Arab trade ministers as well as a large number of Indian and Arab CEOs to discuss business and investment opportunities in identified cutting-edge sectors. Minister of State for Commerce Nirmala Sitharaman will inaugurate the conference. Minister of State External Affairs General V.K. Singh will also address the event. Moving on to some international news now. The US state of Missouri has ordered more troops to the Ferguson area to quell unrest after a policeman was cleared over Michael Brown's killing. Now, violent protests erupted after Monday's ruling, with buildings and vehicles set alight and dozens of arrests, even as US President Barack Obama urged for peace. Here's a report.
This is the scene outside the Ferguson Police Department. Sporadic gunshots were heard and bottles were thrown as angry crowd destroyed whatever they could lay their hands on. And it's not just this small town in Missouri. The anger has been spreading across the streets of Oakland, Los Angeles and Seattle. At least a dozen buildings were set on fire in Missouri. Most of them were gutted. These violent scenes were in response to a jury deciding not to indict the white police officer Darren Wilson for fatally shooting an unarmed black teenager Michael Brown back in August.
The grand jury deliberated over 2 days, making their final decision. They determined that no probable cause exists to file any charge against Officer Wilson and returned a no true bill on each of the 5 indictments.
Police hit back at the protesters using smoke canisters and tear gas. 29 people have been arrested so far.
And obviously it's disappointing. I mean, he was around my age, like I'm 17. And so it's possibility that I can be shot and killed and there would be like no justice to come from it.
I think she should be penalized for it, highly penalized for it. But this is America. I mean, we're only, 152 years away from the Emancipation Proclamation. So it shows that, we're not as far as we think we are.
US President Barack Obama joined Michael Brown's family following the verdict. He appealed for calm, saying that US has more work to do on race relations. Quite ironic coming from first black president of the United States.
We need to recognize that this is not just an issue for Ferguson. This is an issue for America. We have made enormous progress in race relations over the course of the past several decades. To deny that progress, I think, is to deny America's capacity for change.
A jury of 12 people met 25 times, heard 70 hours of testimony from 60 witnesses and 3 medical examiners before making the final decision. And that decision, sadly, is only likely to play straight into the fears of African American community. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And here's a look now at some other news and updates from around the globe in our World Wrap. Sri Lanka says that it will invite foreign monitors to witness the presidential election in January. The election commissioner said that he will be inviting EU monitors as well, but not UN monitors, as he feels they will not be required. The January 8th election will be mainly a contest between President Mahinda Rajapakse and his former minister, Maithripala Sirisena. 2 female teen suicide bombers believed to be linked to the Nigerian Islamist group Boko Haram blew themselves up in the northeast of the country this morning, killing at least 45 people at the crowded market. The girls dressed in hijabs detonated their explosives in the city of Maiduguri in Borno State. Boko Haram has been accused of carrying out many similar acts in the region, although it has not yet claimed responsibility for the most recent blast. Hong Kong riot police has arrested 80 pro-democracy protesters after several thousand demonstrators erected street barricades following clearance of part of a protest hotspot. Several thousand police were deployed after a court ordered the reopening of a blocked street in the working-class district of Mong Kok, scene of some of the most violent confrontations in the 2-month-long Occupy Central civil disobedience campaign. Syrian government warplanes pounded the northern city of Raqqa, a stronghold of extremist group Islamic State, killing dozens of people in one of the deadliest attacks on the city in months. The attacks come after the Islamic State group captured the headquarters of Syria's 17th division based in the Raqqa area. It posted a video online of its operation. Syrian government airstrikes have increased since the US-led coalition airstrikes started attacking Islamic State positions inside Syria in September. Well, let's take a look now at the global stock markets. US stocks ended unchanged as the soft readings on consumer confidence and house prices kept major indices in a tight range. Well, the Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 2.96 points or 0.02% to close the day at 17,814. Standard & Poor's 500, meanwhile, lost 2.38 points or 0.12% to end at 2,067. The Nasdaq Composite added 3.36 points or 0.07% to finish at 4,758. Meanwhile, gold prices rose by 56 rupees or 0.21% to 26,916 per 10 grams on Tuesday as speculators created fresh positions on a firm global trend. Silver also advanced by 85 rupees or 0.77% to 36,538 per kilogram on increased offtake by industrial units and coin makers. Asian stocks opened mixed today morning as materials and healthcare shares advanced amid a stronger yen. Japan's Nikkei is down 36.20 points or 0.21% to 17,371 at the start of today's trading. While Hong Kong's Hang Seng rose by 49.23 points or 0.21% to 23,843 at the start of trading. slip into another short break here, but all the sports updates lined up for you on the other side. Stay tuned. Right back. Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha television. Let's take a look now at all the action from the sports arenas across the world in our latest sports beat. Lionel Messi set a new Champions League scoring record with a hat-trick, and Luis Suarez netted his first in Barcelona colours as the Spaniards comprehensively beat Apoel Nicosia 4-0 in the Champions League on Tuesday. The hat-trick took him to 74 goals in the Champions League, making him the outright top scorer in that competition, ahead of former Real Madrid star Raul on 71. Australian batsman Philip Hughes remains in critical condition in a Sydney hospital after undergoing emergency surgery for a sickening head injury sustained when struck by a ball during a domestic match. The 25-year-old was transferred to St. Vincent's Hospital Intensive Care Unit after surgery, and his condition was not expected to become clear for the next 24 to 48 hours. Norway's Magnus Carlsen was crowned World Chess Champion on Tuesday after defeating his rival Viswanathan Anand for a second year running. The clash of the chess titans came to an end in Game 11 of the 12-game tournament on Sunday, which was held in Sochi, with Anand failing to pick up his game and deliver the forcefulness that would have brought him head-to-head with his adversary in a decider. Carlsen clinched a victory with a 6.5 to 4.5 scoreline. Plans for a revamped Khalifa International Stadium were unveiled by the Qatar Supreme Committee for the 2022 FIFA World Cup. The iconic stadium, which staged the 2006 Asian Games, will go through a renovation as Qatar prepares for a tournament that might be played in winter because of the severe heat during the summer months in Qatar. The revamped structure, originally built in 1976, will feature 40,000 seats for spectators. Finally, of course, less than a month before Christmas, more than 1,700 Thai students set a new Guinness World Record for the largest gathering of Santa's little helpers in Bangkok. I'm going to leave you with these visuals. Have a nice day.